Rian has written a story that's unexpected but right.
Hey everyone, it is Matthew, and Star Wars Week continues, and in this video I wanted to do a Last Jedi review, as well as a top 10 moments of the film. Now, first off, did I enjoy the film? Yes, 100%, 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed the film as it genuinely surprised me, and that doesn't happen very often, so I applaud them for that effort. Rian Johnson made in bringing something different to the table. Were those decisions that were made, did I not expect them? Yes. Did I have a hard time processing some of those moments? Yes, absolutely. All that being said, I want to start with what I disliked and what I questioned about the film. So, why did they not kill Leia during the bridge attack? It was a perfect opportunity, completely blown to do it, no pun intended. She didn't play a pivotal role in the rest of the film. It was a surprising move to me. Also, I found Benicio del Toro's character completely unnecessary and pointless. I hope that changes in my following viewings because I do love del Toro's work. I genuinely do. But yeah, this role, kind of dull. Rose and Finn's love story was completely out of left field for me. I didn't get the feeling at all of a romance between the two of them during the film. So when Rose gave her speech at the end, what happened at the end, I was just kind of like, huh? Where the hell did that come from, you know? Admiral Holdo, I have to admit, I disliked the character because she acted more like an admiral in the Empire, and I found that hard to sympathize with her. She reminded me of every horrible boss I ever had throughout my life, but it was because her choices in the film were so logical and made sense that you just kind of had to sit there and take it and say, you know, don't ruin my thoughts with your logic. And that was pretty much in a nutshell what I disliked about the film. All that being said, forget about the negatives. Let's get straight into the positives here. Let me get into my top 10 moments of the film. Number 10, we find out that Rey's parents are fucking nobodies. Who knew, right? That was one of the biggest questions coming out of The Force Awakens. Where did Rey come from? Who were her parents? Well, we find out through Kylo Ren that Rey's parents were nothing more than a bunch of drunks who sold their daughter for booze. I was confused with this revelation at first, but now that I'm about 12 hours out of seeing it, I think it was a great move because it simply drives home the feeling of hope in the galaxy that you don't have to be born into a family where the Force is strong like the Skywalkers. You can be anyone from anywhere and become anything. Was Kylo lying to Rey when he talked about that? I hope not, but we'll just have to wait and see it. Number 9, Luke not giving two shits regarding his old lightsaber. One of the many laugh out loud moments in the theater. Rey handed Luke the lightsaber, crafted by Darth Vader himself, and just deadpan AF just tosses it off the cliff of Ahch-To. This was a point in the film where I knew this was not going to be your typical Star Wars film. Here is the continuation of the emotional cliffhanger from The Force Awakens. And this film just tosses all that anticipation and emotion of that scene and just takes it in a direction that no one was expecting. It was a great moment. And to that point, there was a Mark Hamill interview where he says that he did not initially like the script because he didn't think Luke would do some of these things. And this has to be at least one of those things. On to number 8, onto that point, more humor in this film. I'm so glad that Rian Johnson continued the trend of adding humor into the Star Wars franchise. It was one of my big things in the Force Awakens reviews, and I enjoyed the fact that they brought humor to the product again. There were more moments when I laughed out loud personally than I can remember in any Star Wars film. The subtle remarks and looks between Hux and Kylo Ren and first interaction between Poe and Hux was just classic and just downright hysterical. The first introduction between Hux and Poe did go a little too long for my taste. It went a little longer than it should have. Being said, I would rather have more humor than not, so I can't really complain. Kylo killing Snoke, I'll take things that I didn't see coming for 1,000, Alex. Again, going back to Daisy Ridley's quote from earlier in the video, it was not expected, but it was right. Of course Kylo would kill Snoke. It makes sense. How do you complete your training as a Sith? You kill your master. The answer was there. It just seemed to come out of nowhere. It kind of sucks that they just threw Snoke away like a piece of trash, but I'm kind of glad they did because now we can just focus on Kylo Ren instead of focusing on Snoke. Maybe it'll be a bad decision going forward. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. Number 6, seeing Luke Skywalker in action. How awesome was it to see Luke in full Jedi mode after all these years? I was happy to see that Johnson went simplistic with his approach to the fight, though. What I mean is, take a look at what Lucas did with the first trilogy and then what he did with the lightsaber duels in the prequels. 2 very different styles, 2 very different approaches. I appreciated the fact that they didn't overthink the fight and that it played out the way that it did. It also showed how strong Luke was in the Force, ultimately costing him in the end as he sort of relinquished himself. I don't want to say sacrifice. He relinquished himself to the Force, and now will more than likely, if he does come back, will be a Force ghost of some kind. Number 5, in one of the several moments that left my jaw on the floor, was when Admiral Holdo's sacrifice and subsequent attack on Snoke's ship, cutting through Snoke's ship through light speed. It was a visual like what brought me to Star Wars to begin with, just seeing the coolest stuff on screen that you could possibly imagine. One of the coolest things that this movie brought to us. Speaking of which, number 4, Kylo and Rey going full Jedi mode on Snoke's Imperial Guards. As a lifelong Star Wars fan, I do have to say this scene ranks up there with Vader's scene in Rogue One, meaning it is one of the best scenes in all of the 9 films thus far. The setting, the story, the choreography, the raw emotion that went into that was just awe-inspiring. Number 3, Leia lives. That wasn't the case earlier in the film. I will say, though, there was an audible gasp in my theater during that bridge scene. Thought beforehand that this would happen, Leia dying, but nothing prepared anyone in that theater for what happened. Then on top of that, Leia's use of the Force to rescue herself. Holy shit! Top marks, Rian Johnson, top marks. But this sets up the bigger question, how the hell they're going to deal with the death of Carrie Fisher in episode 9. I can only hope, no pun intended, that they don't pull a Grand Moff Tarkin and CG her in it. We can only hope that she's written out of the story in a way that suits not only the character, but Carrie Fisher herself. Number 2, Luke created Kylo Ren. I think we sort of all knew this, but I'm glad they sealed the theory up for us. There was a debate online about what created Kylo, Snoke or Luke. It was just nice to see that play out on screen, and it was nice to see that they included both sides of the matter. So they showed the perspective of Kylo Ren, and then later on in the film they showed what really happened with Luke Skywalker. Really, really well done. I like the torment that came out of it with Luke. It was just great to see it play out on screen, and it was also nice to see the explanation of why Luke is in exile, and it was both heartening and infuriating at the same time. Finally, number 1, Rey is a Jedi. Maybe not a full-blown user of the Force and ranking up there as Master, but we finally know that she's on the light side of the Force. When Rey is on Ahch-To, learning from Luke and seeing and feeling the darkness, you gathered a sense that she could turn, and that she might. But by the end, we all knew where Rey stood with the Force and where Kylo Ren stood in the dark side. Overall, after viewing, I have to give it a solid 4 out of 5. There was more that I liked than I didn't like, and I left the theater satisfied enough to want to go see it again and then dissect it even further from there. But what did you think of The Last Jedi? Are you guys going to go see it again and again and again and again and again? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll see you later this weekend with my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Episode 4 video breakdown.